Hello, everybody. We are initializing the live stream. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. It is Friday, the 21st of April, 2023. My name is Kerry Holzman, and today we have a review of the Beelink. This is the SER Pro. They call this one the 6, I believe. And this is a Ryzen 7 7735 HS processor, 32 gigs of RAM stock out of the box, 500 gig NVMe drive, Wi-Fi 6, 2.5 gig LAN. This is a little mini gaming PC, so we're going to check that out here during today's show. That's the subject of today's show. I also have an SER5 and a BQ12, I believe it's called, that I'll review next week. And I think another newly released Beelink is on its way. So I'm looking forward to showcasing these here on the channel and introducing you to them to see if any of them might meet your requirements and your budget. And my thanks to the folks over at Beelink, specifically over to Phil. Thank you so much for sending the products for review. They don't pay me to do the reviews, but they are, just in full disclosure, sending me the products at no charge so that I can introduce you to them and I can evaluate them. Before we get started, I want to give a special shout out and thank you to Mark Gaines, who contributed before the show a Amazon gift card. Thank you to Luke Greenia. Of course, thank you to Peter Laycock, Buster as we know him, joining us from Scotland. Thank you to John Jack Wilson. He is now, along with a handful of other members, now on month 11 of membership. So I'm kind of curious who's going to be the first 12, because that's when the badge will change. It changes like, I think it goes 1, 2, 6, 12, and then 2, and then 3 years. So yeah, I'm really excited to see who's going to hit that 12 first. But thank you guys so much for your kindness, your support. Let me make sure I haven't left anybody out before I get started. I get so mad at myself when I do that. Yeah, so that's Luke Greenia, Mark Gaines, Peter Laycock. Thank you guys again. I really appreciate you. And then in the super chats, have I missed anything here? Yes, John Wilson with a $20 super chat contribution says, here's just a little something for shipping or dinner for you and Camera Girl. Right on, thank you. Thank you, Jack. And Chico48, or is that a B? Can't tell, has become a new member. Well, welcome to the Tech Club, Chico. All right, guys. Yeah, Mortant has also been a member for 11 months. Yeah, we have a handful. Those are the, if you see the, so the membership started 11 months ago. So the people that are at 11 months now are right there at the beginning. And then, like I said, that number will change from a 6. The next number it switches to is a 12. So that little gold coin that you see next to people's name with the 6 on it.
It's a badge.
Badge, coin. It looks like a coin. It's a gold
badge.
Coin.
YouTube badge.
Don't badger me. Anyway, the reason that says 6, even though they're saying 11, is it only updates at certain increments that PayPal controls. YouTube controls that. I don't control that. Everybody's got control but me, apparently. All right, so today's computer, let's take a look at the web page for this before we get started. The SER6 Pro is what it's called. And let me go over to my window capture so I can share the screen with you. Well, I probably should have got this ready before I went live, but that's okay. It only takes me a second. Here we go. So this is the computer I'm going to evaluate today. Scroll too fast. AMD Ryzen 7, that's the 7735 HS. It's 8 cores, 16 threads. It's 4800 megahertz DDR5 memory. It's got an M2 NVMe. That is Gen 4. It's 500 gigs. Wi-Fi 6 built in with Bluetooth. The CPU can go to 4.75 gigahertz. It can hold a maximum of 64 gigs of RAM. A maximum 2 terabytes storage. I think that could probably go to 4, maybe even 8. I'd have to plug a drive in to test it, but I'm pretty sure that's not the true maximum. 2.5 gig LAN, and you can have 3 displays at the same time. Hold on, my screen's going crazy. You can have, come on now. Looks like they designed this to be appearing on a phone, so the mouse doesn't work as well as just hitting the down button on the keyboard. All right, so triple displays, that'll do HDMI, 2 HDMI ports, and then you have a USB 4.0 port that can work as a third display. And the Wi-Fi is 802.11ax, also known as Wi-Fi 6, not 6E, 6. Then, of course, if we look at the details of the processor, it's standard 3.2 gigahertz, turbos to 4.75, 8 cores and 16 threads with AMD Radeon 680M GPU that's built into the CPU, the RDNA 2 graphics. You can see how small that is, very portable. USB 4 port on the SER6 Pro, supports power delivery 3.0, so you can use a 100 watt power delivery charger or power adapter to boot the mini PC and to keep it running. What? The USB 4 interface is also backward compatible, of course, with USB. I don't know why they don't list USB 1, but USB 2, 3, 3.1, 3.2, and Thunderbolt 3 devices. And of course, a little bit about the branded NVMe and RAM. They're using Crucial RAM. And it just says premium brand SSD. We can look into seeing, that might change. There may be multiple vendors they use for the for the NVMe SSD, so that may be why they don't specifically name the brand, only that it will be a name brand, and we can check that out here in just a minute. Be sure and remind me, chat room. And then we've already got different start times and test file sizes done for our convenience, saves us some time. Everything from 3D Max and Maya to CAD. That's all serious work stuff for a gaming PC. And scroll down. There's some frames per second on Destiny 2, PUBG, CSGO. People still playing Counter-Strike. Something called LOL. What is LOL? League of Legends. That's what that is. And then Dota 2. Wow. Really?
Dota is awesome.
What is that? Day of the... Dawn of the... I forgot.
Great for PvP.
What's that?
Great for PvP.
Yeah, player versus player. Here's our exploded view of how this thing is put together. As you can see, there's room for a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive to add optionally. And yeah, it should be super easy to get in if we want to do any upgrades. Let's keep going down here. There's our information on our Wi-Fi, our Bluetooth, our LAN, this triple display support, USB 4, and the included wall mount, which allows the computer to be mounted on the back of a monitor as well as on the wall or under the table. And then there's a close-up with the front, and there's showing 3 monitors in triple display mode. This explains the heat dissipation system and the silent CPU fan and heat sink and temperature range, depending on how it was being used at the time.
Defense of the Ancients.
Wow, I was completely wrong. I thought it was Day of the something.
No,
Defense of the Ancients. Well, thank you for looking that up. It's got a breathable and waterproof splash cloth. Should I spill something on it? Oh, it says splash proof, not waterproof. It says waterproof splash. I don't know if I want to test that. I guess I could take the cover off and just pour liquid over it and see if it goes through. It's got a metal air inlet, all metal body, and it's been CNC'd, which is pretty nice. I guess that explains its metal. These are the dimensions: 42 millimeters high, 126 millimeters wide, and 113 millimeters long. Pretty small. These are all your specifications here, including the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. And this is everything you get in the box: the unit, the wall mount, little teeny tiny HDMI cables in case you're going to mount it right behind the monitor, so you don't want a 5 or 6 foot cable dangling. And then your power adapter, depending on where you are. They've got it available in the US plug, the European plug, the UK plug, and the Japan plug. All right, that covers that. Now, if you are cautious, skeptical of ordering directly from Beelink, if you don't know what shipping time is going to be like, or you don't know what customer service might be like, then I recommend you buy from Amazon, because as we all know, Amazon has amazing customer service. They allow absolutely no cost to you returns for the first 30 days of when you receive the product. You have 30 days to send it back free of charge for any reason, completely hassle-free, worry-free return. If this PC, if you don't like it for any reason, there is no risk to you to try it. Order it on Amazon if you're on the fence about it, because there's no review you're going to read that's going to replicate accurately what your experience will be and how this computer may meet your needs or may not meet your needs. You have to decide that. There is no content creator that can decide for you what your personal needs, budget, and preferences are. So if you are leaning towards, gee, I wonder if, then just order it from Amazon. And if you don't like it, if you got buyer's remorse, if some unexpected bill comes up, it doesn't really matter. You can return it within 30 days at no expense. You do not have to pay return shipping. Just make sure you put everything back in the box it came with, and Amazon will refund your money. It's that easy. So here we're looking at a discount today of 20%. Looks like it's at $551.20. Now, I would challenge you to put together your own computer. Put together a motherboard, a case, a power supply, a CPU, a cooler, 500 gigs of storage, 32 gigs of RAM, Windows 11 operating system, Windows 11 Pro. Add all of this in to your cost and tell me what number you get. I bet it's going to be more than $551, and it'll be a lot bigger. Bigger could be better, bigger could be worse, depending on what your needs and expectations are. So just food for thought there. Now let me go back over to camera one. There I am. And I suppose we could get Cam Girl out here and get the close-up camera as we do the unboxing. And while I'm waiting for her to get ready, I'll just poke my head in here into the chat room. Knit Jam says, I'll take 10 of them. There you go. Right on Amazon.
10?
Sure. You get a baker's dozen.
I come to your house.
Nick Poverman mentioned there's also a $40 off box you can check. Did I miss that? Where's that at? I don't see $40 off for me. Are we looking at the same model? I don't see that. Wonder if it's a different model. Let's see. I see a save 5% on 2 selected items. Save $45.93 for 12 months interest-free. Approval on Amazon Rewards Visa. Yeah, I don't know where you're seeing $40 off. I don't see it at all here. That one says it's out of stock. And we're on the one on the far right here, the SER6 Pro. Yeah. Maybe some people get that offer and some people don't. I have no idea. No idea why you see that offer, but hey, if that makes the price $511, even better. Better take them up on their offer before they change their mind. All right, let me go back to my OBS screen. Oh, let me go back to my YouTube page first. Okay, we ready on close-up camera?
Ready.
Okay. Nicholas Barlow says he has $40 off. Ray Burke said he sees a $20 off. that is really weird. All right, guys. Well, that's cool. Happy Panda says $551 and there's a $40 coupon. I do not know where you guys are seeing a $40 coupon. Maybe it's because I'm not signed into the YouTube account. And they are. All right, let's go over to camera one. I'm sorry, we're on camera one. Let's go to the close-up camera. Come on over. There we go. And then here's the box right here. This is what it looks like. Now, I've already taken us out of the box and did the updates, so we don't have to sit around for hours. There may have been a couple updates that have come out since then. I've had this here about a week now and just now getting around to filming it. On the back is our specifications. And yeah, this is that $551 model. We open it up. There it goes. Look at how I put it back so it's all nice and pretty. User manual. Little piece of foam. I even put it back in this little enclosure. Whoops. Well, that'll never happen again. What does it say on the top? Thank you for your choice. During the system boot process, if you cannot log into your personal account, please turn off Wi-Fi and LAN. Select the skip option and then log in. Oh, they're talking about when you're setting up Windows the first time. All right, so. All right, so here's the unit. Got a couple go faster stickers on there. There's our two USB 3s, our USB 4, our headphone / headset jack that'll work as a mic input as well. Power, let's go around this way. We got a vent for cooling. Go around this way. We've got an HD, oh, I thought it said it had two HDMI ports. It's one HDMI, one display port. Looks like a USB 3 and a USB 2, a 2.5 gig LAN, and our power in right over there. And then I like how Beelink has this little silicon pull tab. So when we remove these 4 screws, you can use this to pull the bottom plate up, and that'll get you in for your SSD and your RAM upgrade. So that's really well thought out. There's no rubber feet to remove or anything sticky that has
It tells you how to get into the BIOS. Right there.
Even better.
Yeah.
Right on. 19 volts, 6.32 amps. It's low power. And what else do we have in the box? What's this? Oh, Beelink likes to give us, so it looks like we've got like a heather gray default, but if you want to black it all out, this just gets something underneath that. It just pops off, and then there's just these little clips, and you just push it on. Click, click, click. Should I pour something on this and see how water resistant? They claim this is splash resistant. Just the top, not the whole thing. You can't put this in the pool. But it's supposedly if you spill a drink and some of the liquid lands on this fabric, it's supposed to keep it from seeping in. All right, I'll just put that back in here for now. It's a nice touch. You know, I don't know of any other mini PC manufacturer that gives you this option. And if they did, they'd probably want to sell it separately just as a way to nickel and dime you. So kudos to Beelink for just including one more lid than you need just for personal preference. This has nothing to do with your computer performance or security. It's just there for an aesthetic. Inside of here, we've got the aforementioned HDMI cables. And there's the wall plate. Here's our power brick, which I've already removed from the plastic. And then here's our power cord, Mickey Mouse power cord for the power brick. And then a little bag of screws for the wall plate, if you're gonna use it. So we don't need these HDMI cables for today's test, nor do we need the wall plate. So the rest of this we'll just put in here for now. Let's get this bad boy plugged in. So we'll start with, first of all, I'm on the fence about the short power cables. So on the one hand, to go from the power brick to the unit, they give you a decent length cable. But from the power brick to the outlet, it's pretty short. Looks like it's about, is that 2 feet? Maybe 3 feet? So not much room there. I mean, obviously, the idea is that this would likely be closer to the wall than this piece would. But yeah, I sure would like a longer, like a 5 or 6 foot long standard length cable would be ideal. But at least they make up for it here. So that's going to plug in back here. And let me step around and I'll plug this in the outlet down below. And then let's see, we need, just take this off the table, get that out of our view. We need a keyboard and a mouse, and we need video, and we need, let's see, here's HDMI. And then this should be, I don't know how I managed to tangle that up so badly, but this is my Ethernet cable. We can plug that in since I've already got Windows 11 set up. And then, yeah, keyboard and a mouse, which I have back around the other side. Then we'll see how long this thing takes to boot, see what it looks like, take a look at some of the specs, and answer any questions you have. We should probably open it up and take a look at the inside, even though we have a nice exploded view right there on the website. I'll plug the keyboard mouse right in here, and we'll turn it on, and let me go over to my HDMI input. There it goes. And then I'm going to turn on camera 1 here for a minute, and I'm going to make myself smaller. And of course, in that amount of time, it's booted, so I want to do a reboot just to see how long it takes. You can go ahead and shut off camera, close-up camera. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to go over to, first let's just shut it completely off. Let's see how long that takes. Okay, that's off. Wait, power button's still on. There, power button just went off. I want to turn it back on. Now we can accurately gauge how long this thing takes to boot, which includes the entire BIOS process here. Oh, I guess before I could finish my sentence, holy cow. Wow. Zach Bischoff says, hello, Carrie and Camera Girl and chat. Bob R mentions we have 303 people watching. Welcome in, everyone. Martin Hogg says hello from Scotland. Well, that's taking a little longer on the welcome screen. I wonder if it's getting an update. Brent GJ says, Carrie, love your videos. Hey, there's Bill Leatherland. Bill's joining us. Yeah, I see what happened here. He was doing some kind of a weird thing here. So Bill Leatherland has lost his moderator status. Let's make sure that Bill's got that moderator status back. I don't know what happened there. Welcome back, Bill. Stan Aristov with £4.99 in Super Chat says, hey, Carrie, Marlena, and chat. It's been a while since I caught a live stream. Have a drink on me. Right on. Cheers, Stan. Appreciate you, my friend. And yeah, let me go back over to full screen over here so I can see what's happening. Ah, yes, it wants to do this finish setting up PC thing. We'll hit continue, skip. I don't want to do this, so I hit back and skip for now. And now we're at the desktop. And I'm going to go ahead and hit Windows Update because I think it's trying to grab something. I think that was our delay in startup. And I do want to shut it off and turn it back on again to accurately measure the boot time once we know for a fact it's not getting any more updates, because that certainly explains that. Yeah, see, it's saying there's no more updates. So let's turn it back off. Once again, we can kind of gauge how much time that takes to turn off. Power light is off. I'm going to hit the power button. There we go. Now, let's see how long it takes. You know, it's a computer. So it's not like it's always going to be the same every time, depending on the status of updates and whatnot. And oh my gosh, that was, did you blink? That's what it's more like what I was expecting the first time. Okay, now if we take a look at the specifications here, let me just right click on my computer, go to properties, and we'll see there's the AMD Ryzen 7, the 7735H with Radeon graphics. We've got 32 gigs of RAM, 28.7 gigs is usable because the rest of it's being borrowed by the onboard graphics or the integrated graphics. We're running Windows 11 Pro. That's version 22H2, our latest and greatest with all the latest updates. Shows the manufacturer is AZW. I'm not quite sure what that stands for, but that is Beelink. And if we take a look at our storage, let's see, let me grab my utilities and we can see who makes that storage without even having to open this thing up. We can pull over CPU-Z and we can pull over, whoops, PC testing software. Crystal Disk Info will tell us all about the drive. Crystal Disk Mark can give us our benchmarks. And CPU-Z can give us the details of the manufacturer of the RAM. Of course, we can open this up to confirm it, but this just makes life a lot easier if we just use these utilities that'll tell us, save us the effort. So let's start with Crystal Disk Info, and let's see who's making the solid state drive. Oh wait, that's Crystal Disk Mark. Did I not copy? There it is, Crystal Disk Info. Kingston. All right, so they were right. It is a major name brand. It's a Kingston SNV 20, what is it? SNV2S 500G. And let's run Crystal Disk Mark. Let's take a look at what those numbers are for this Gen 4 NVMe drive. Mats Olof joining us all the way from Sweden. Welcome in, Mats Olof. And Oystein joining us from Norway. Welcome in, guys. Now, those numbers should be closer to around, 6,000 on a good high-speed Gen 4 NVMe drive. I'm not real impressed with that particular brand of drive. I don't use Kingston myself. However, the actual reality of how much performance difference you're going to see between, say, 3600 and 6000, it's milliseconds. But if you're using this for gaming, those milliseconds can add up. But for most people, they wouldn't notice the difference. But it's an easy enough upgrade to do if you want to do it, to put a higher performing drive in there. I'm sure this is done to meet a specific price point, and that a faster drive would cost more money. But at least you can upgrade it. And again, some people get swept away with the benchmarks. The reality is, for everyday PC use, for browsing the web and email and even most basic gameplay, you're not going to notice a difference other than in the benchmarks. You saw how fast our boot time was. So it's not going to make any difference in that any human being would be able to notice. And program load times for things like Office and Chrome, Explorer, Edge, it's all just milliseconds. So I'm on the fence of whether or not I should be disappointed, because on the one hand, it doesn't really matter much for most people. And on the other hand, if they would have put a faster drive in, it would be a more expensive mini PC. So the benefit is it's easy to get into and it's easy to upgrade if that bothers you. But we definitely want to set proper expectations here. Thank you to Alan Lindos with a $7.77 Super Chat contribution. It says, Carrie, here's my late fee. As opposed to buying you a Gatorade, it appears you already have a cold one. Thanks, Alan. Andy Kane says Gen 4 relates to the speed of the drive. What do you think Gen 4 relates to? Bill Leatherland says, cheers, Carrie. Back at you, my friend Bill. Nick Poverman says, I find it funny how people care about these speeds when only 6 years ago most people were still using spinny drives, and most people still do. That's true. And the mechanical drives run anywhere on the slow end from 80 megabytes a second to maybe upwards of 200, 220. So this is way, way faster than any mechanical drive. Joe says, greetings from Traverse City, Michigan. Oh, I wish I was there right now. Traverse City's a little too rich for my blood rent-wise, but definitely a beautiful place. If you ever go to Michigan, you guys have to go to Traverse City. Wait, Detroit's down here, Traverse City, right up in here, right up in there. Beautiful, beautiful part of Michigan. Actually, most of Michigan is beautiful. Everybody focuses down on Detroit. Not that all of that's bad either, by the way. But yeah, right up on the opposite. If you folded Michigan in half, right up here. And Leelanau Peninsula is just gorgeous. Oh, don't get me homesick, will you? Come on. Luke Greenia says we're finally getting some green grass here in Vermont. Yeah, you better fire up the lawnmower, huh? Rob Dvorak wants to know, Carrie, do you recommend these minis for your customers? Well, that's a great question. I have customers that have these, and I have customers that don't. And the reason the customers that don't have them is because I have not yet introduced them. What I do is a slow rollout to determine, I don't want to burden myself. I'm my own employee. There's nobody else to do the work but me. And I don't want to, deploy a bunch of these and then have everybody calling me with problems. And then I'm overwhelmed and they're pissed off because I'm not servicing them fast enough. So what I do is I have a couple of clients that I know really, really well. They've been with me a long time. And I say, hey, I've got an idea here that I think might save you some money and some desk space. And the first time I rolled one out, the client actually came to me and the client said, we renovated the building and we've got this reception desk that has no room to put a mini PC. To put a regular PC. I don't know why they didn't think about that when they were designing it, but for whatever reason, it got designed, it got built, it got painted, it got ready to open for business, and as the employee sat her chair there, she realized, where's my PC supposed to go? Now, I've run into this a lot where the architects, they don't consider the PC at all, and it's maddening to me. They're like, yeah, we'll give you a power plug. That's what they do. There's a power plug. Okay, but where's the space? Many of you don't know this, but I used to do wiring for International House of Pancakes here in Arizona, the franchisee owner that would open a bunch of stores here in Arizona, the entire state. And I wired the one in Nogales, and I wired the one in Yuma, and I wired a few here and around Phoenix. And over and over and over and over and over again, we kept having the same problems over and over and over. And that was the architect, bearing in mind they use the same blueprint over and over and over again. They have like one of 3 floor plans or one of 2. Heck, they even flew me out to Searcy, Arkansas to do the IHOP there. And over again, the architect would give us plugs, but he wouldn't give us network jacks. And so the first time I went out to wire the building, they said, okay, we're ready for you, come out. I go all the way out to Yuma. I don't know if it was Yuma, but wherever it was. And we have power plugs, but we don't have any, all the tile is up on the walls. The floors are in, the walls are painted. And there's supposed to be a printer on each side of the grill that prints out the orders so the cooks can grab them and stick them up on the thing that grabs the receipt and hangs. And yeah, they've got the little base for the printers. They've got the printers. There's no network checks. I said, hey, where's the network checks? So they have to do what's called demoing. That's demolishing the brand new construction where the jacks have to go. They have to tear that apart. All that brand new tile and grout, everything was so beautiful, and they have to demo it partially. Then they have a counter at IHOP where you get up into pay right by the front door, and there's a pipe they run under the foundation. It comes up, and the idea is that the desk sits over that, so the network wire and the telephone wire can run up through the floor. Well, the problem was when they put the desk in, the pipe was about 2 feet that way. Then they had a payphone. Back in the day, in the lobby, they had a payphone, or usually it was like in the area between the restrooms. And the construction workers drywalled over the payphone jack because I wired the phones in the network. And man, I about had a fit. Because if I'm driving from Phoenix to Yuma, that's 2 hours drive. It's summertime, it's 100 plus degrees Fahrenheit. I'm ready to get to work and there's nothing I can do. I can't demo the wall. And what I'm calling drywall isn't drywall. It's this impossible to get through, I forget what it's called. It's really designed to take abuse. You could punch it and you'll break your hand before you get through it. So what I started to do is I said, you need to get me into these stores earlier so I can see where everything's going to go before you guys tile it. So he said, okay, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And then I had a little Canon digital ELPH camera, because back then phones were just flip phones. They did little tiny, pictures were too small. And I started taking pictures of the locations of where all the jacks were going to go. And then sure enough, they covered up the payphone again. And I'm like, there was a payphone here somewhere. And this time I looked back through my photos and I could approximate where the payphone was and instruct the construction worker to grab his Sawzall and cut into that drywall. We nailed it perfectly. So I was really proud of myself. But that continued to happen, like just over and over and over and over again. So when this customer called me and said, we just built the reception area, we just expanded the building, they've been working on this building for 2 years, that was the last thing I expected them to say. But I said, hey, it's no problem, I have a solution. And I introduced them to the Intel NUC. I said, let's try this and see if you guys like it. I won't charge you for it unless you like it. Well, not only did they like it, they loved it. And the owner says, hey, could I have one? Because the owner only uses a computer for email, really. So he doesn't need a full-size tower. I said, absolutely. So I pulled his full-size tower, put an Intel NUC in there, and they're running 2 NUCs, and it's been that way about, I don't know, has it been 2 years? It's over a year. And they've been working beautifully. Now, I have several other clients that do not yet have them, but I am ready to recommend them. Yes, but I won't deploy an entire office filled with them. I will pick somebody at the office who either has very light computer needs or is very, very good at computers, one or the other, and say, okay, let's put your software on this. Let's do the day-to-day stuff. Let me know if it meets your needs. Is it too slow? Is it too loud? Anything like that. Do you have enough ports? Sometimes they need memory card readers or they need DVD drives. Depends on the client. A lot of lawyers still transferred evidence through DVD and pictures on SD cards. And to them, I say, let's just get a USB external reader. Now, one of my clients, in fact, the one that has the NUC, said, yeah, we ordered 2 of those. We don't know where they are. We just rather prefer the DVD drive was built in. But that's just for one employee. Everybody else doesn't need it. And the one employee said their memory card reader stopped working and they couldn't read the memory card. What do we do? And I'm on the phone with him. I'm 30 miles away. I said, the boss has an Intel NUC. The Intel NUC has an SD card reader built right on the front of it. You can copy the files right onto the NAS and then copy them right back onto your PC. That's awesome. Thank you. So in that case, it actually saved the day. I think having USB external memory card readers and DVD drive is useful. Somebody grabs it, they don't put it back, they don't know where they go. And look, they're cheap enough, just buy some more. They got to turn up somewhere. But they don't like the inconvenience. They don't want to have to get out of their chair. So at least this one employee. So for this one employee, I probably will not recommend a NUC ever unless they no longer read DVDs. Like if that's, obviously it's slowing down, right? That's the news. And Netflix, as of September 29th, will not mail out DVDs anymore. They're shutting that side of the business down. But real estate and doctors and attorneys, they tend to hold on to the technology longer than others, and it's critically important information. And as long as the attorneys, the doctors, the real estate agents, as long as they're going to continue to use this obsolete technology, then we have to continue to support it. So in those cases, if they don't want to use external USB, NUC may not be the best solution for them. So I would, it's a very long answer to your question, I realize, but I would deploy it to either somebody who's got very simple needs, like the owner of the company, all he's got to do is check his email every day, or to the person in the company that's like the person that really runs the place. You know what I'm talking about? The administrative assistant, the one everybody comes to when they have problems. I would give the administrative assistant one and say, run your software on it, call me if there's any problems. And if the administrative assistant says this works great, then we'll talk about, as we replace the older desktops, whether or not many PCs will work for them. Now, whether that's Beelink or Nook, you know, whether it's AMD or Intel, whether it's Ace Magician or Minis Forum or Beelink, I haven't found any reliability difference between them. And I haven't had them long enough, nor have I deployed any of those other than the Intel Nook. So I can't tell you yet if one brand is more reliable than another brand, but I would say that they all appear on the inside to be built the same way, using the same quality of parts. So I suspect if you get one and it works without any problems, it's likely going to work a long time. If you get one and you have a problem out of the box, then it likely had a really rough time in shipping, and I wouldn't try to fix it, and I wouldn't contact support regardless of the manufacturer. I would send it back and get a different one, or exchange it for a new one. Somebody emailed me and theirs was making a squeaking sound. It's brand new. You shouldn't have to fix anything brand new. And again, if you order it from Amazon, it's hassle-free. Just instead of a refund, tell them you want an exchange. As soon as they receive it, they send you the same model again. It'll be a different one, and then it'll probably be fine from that point forward. Like I say, sometimes these shippers, they drop stuff, they throw stuff, and if you just happen to be unlucky to have received one that got mishandled, at least you have the peace of mind, that you can send it back. It's likely something that will show up right away if there's a problem. And if you don't see it within the first day or two, you're likely good for many, many years, regardless of who makes it. Joe says if it's good enough for gaming, it's good enough for photo editing and video editing. To some extent, there is a certain level of video editing where, depending on the kinds of videos you're doing, if you're doing 3D animation, 4K or 8K videos, the amount of time it'll take to process may get on your nerves. This will do light video editing, and this will do photo editing, but everything's got limits. A proper video editor who's doing that level of video editing should have proper equipment, which involves a $3,000 graphics card as well as a workstation processor. It's not going to be a $500 or $600 computer. The GPU alone in a proper video editing workstation will cost 4 times the amount of this entire computer. So let's have reasonable expectations about what these computers are capable of. The more you pay, the more you get. The fact of the matter is you've never gotten more for your money in the history of computers than what manufacturers like Beelink are offering today. So let's keep that in mind and make sure we all stay well grounded here with proper expectations. Channel 0 says, hello here from Wollongong, Australia. I've missed the first half hour because YouTube, as usual, forgot to notify me. I've never seen YouTube forget notifications. In every single instance of people not receiving notifications, it was because they set their notifications up incorrectly, or it's because their email provider is not checking the email often enough. So if you set up a Gmail account, or you have the YouTube app installed on your phone, you should get the notifications. If I pull my phone up right now, and I haven't checked this, I'm just telling you, without any exception, I will be notified instantly the minute I go live. So if I go to here, let me walk around here and I'll show you. I started the show at 1 o'clock, a little after 1 o'clock, like 1:02. And it says in my notifications, Kerry Holzman is live. I got that at 1:03. So why do you suppose it was at 1:03? Well, because I started about a minute and a half late, and then the email notification went out, and it took it about 60 seconds to check that. So that is absolutely on the end user or your email provider. That is not on YouTube. You're putting the blame. And I find this fascinating that most people who blame the technology, just in my experience as a tech, where the people say, this darn printer doesn't work, this doesn't work, it's them causing the problem. And when the person has no confidence, no technical confidence, and they go, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I can't get the printer to print. In almost all those cases, they're doing everything right, and there's something wrong with the technology. I just find that psychology fascinating. Sorry, I got a little dry throat there. Mega Jesse G says, hello, Carrie in chat. Hey, Mega Jesse, welcome in. Stan Aristov mentions the NVIDIA Quadro cards. Yeah. Quattro. And Linda says, stomach's growling, have cravings for pizza. I was just talking about that today. A new Barrows just opened up. Sorry, Carrie. Guess I see the remainder of the show later. Hey, enjoy your Chicago-style Barrows pizza. My mouth loves Barrows pizza. My stomach, my gut, not so much. So, yeah, I don't eat that anymore. Joshua Gwenin says, blaming YouTube for something you can set up in a calendar is strange. Well, that's another good point, Joshua. And again, not to embarrass anybody, but just as an educational example, I go live every Friday at the exact same time. Every single Friday. You shouldn't need a reminder from YouTube because it's always the same time on Friday, every Friday. So, yeah. Patrick Russa says, here's a deal on a 4 terabyte NVMe drive, and he's got a link here to Amazon, which looks like it is Crucial. I won't use Crucial drives, and it's only 3,500 megabytes per second, but $199.99 for a Crucial P3, that's a Gen 3 drive. I mean, it's okay. I wouldn't use Crucial. Crucial and Kingston are two drive manufacturers I stay far away from. I've seen way too many failures from them. I've never seen like a Samsung 970 Evo. I've never seen a failed Samsung NVMe drive, never. I've only seen one failed Samsung SATA drive. And since I have to warranty it and I'm the one who's going to get the call when it fails, if you want to save money and you want to buy that stuff, have at it, but I hope you make regular backups. But I appreciate you letting us know about the deal. You know, $50 a terabyte is a good deal, but it's not a fast drive. And in my experience, Crucial is one of the least reliable drives. I've had unpleasant unpleasantness to deal with. I had a 4 terabyte Crucial drive that had to go back. It died within 6 weeks. So yeah, I don't want to even risk it again. And that was the last straw, because I had a couple others that failed. But that 4 terabyte drive I thought would have been built better. It was a 4 terabyte SATA drive, and I sent it back to Crucial, and they sent me back a replacement, which is still brand new in the box. I'm afraid to use it. It's sitting sealed in the box on my part shelf because I don't trust it. But it was cheap, so that's why I bought it. Yates Network said, I have to admit I've had 1 or 2 Crucial SSDs fail, but that's actually what I always use though. Well, obviously, if you buy enough of something, a certain percentage is going to fail. Except I haven't seen, where's these failed Samsungs? Like I said, the 970 Evos that I've been buying, I have yet to see a Samsung NVMe drive go bad. And I use a lot of them. Blackwatch says he likes the Western Digital Black 2nd editions as an alternative to Samsung. But the problem is firmware updates. The Samsung Magician is the deal killer. The fact that no other drive manufacturer offers such a useful utility, and those firmware updates are so critical. Also being able to track how many terabytes are written or how many gigabytes are written to the drive to estimate how much drive life you've got left, which in most people's cases is measured in decades. That's an invaluable tool and worth a couple extra bucks. if that's the case. Furthermore, sometimes it's even cheaper to buy the Samsung. Forget the couple extra bucks. When they're on sale, they're a bargain, because the Samsung Magician software, while other manufacturers have utilities, none of them are as useful or as easy to use. So for me, well, I just installed a Western Digital black drive on the Samsung laptop yesterday. I don't think Samsung makes a 4 terabyte drive. I don't think I've ever seen one. So the Western Digital 850, what's it called? An 850X. And then the Seagate Barracuda 530 are pretty much the fastest in their class in that 4 terabyte size. And that's why I use them. But if you don't care about speed, like if let's say, for example, I bought this computer here and I threw that Crucial P3 4 terabyte in here, yeah, that'd be a good fit. Even though this could run much faster. This is Gen 4, so you'd actually be trading speed for capacity, but for $200, like I said, most people won't notice the speed anyway, other than in a benchmark. Planet Cryos with $1.49 in Super Chat. Thank you, Planet Cryos. Hey, there's Mitch Morrison on his motorcycle. He drove apparently this morning to San Diego, California from Phoenix. And why? Why did he get on his motorcycle at 7 o'clock in the morning to drive to San Diego? To see his favorite band live for the 800th time. He's going to see the band Toto perform in San Diego. I guess they're not playing in Phoenix, so he's got to go to them. Well, glad to hear you've arrived safely, and enjoy the concert tonight. Thanks for popping in. Planet Cryos with a $10 super chat. Right on. Thank you, Planet Cryos, again. Yates Networks said, agreed. My clients are not going to notice the minimal performance games in Samsung Evos as opposed to another brand. No, for me, the Samsungs are not about the performance. They're about the Samsung Magician software. So when it comes to my clients calling me for maintenance, I can maintain their Samsung drive much easier than any other. In other words, I can make sure they've got the latest firmware. I can be sure that the drive performance is where it's supposed to be, that, those are early indications of things going wrong, potentially, that I can address right through the Samsung Magician software by connecting remotely. I don't even have to be there. There's very few other utilities from drive manufacturers that provide all of that. They might provide one thing or the other, but firmware updates in particular stick out to me, because firmware updates are incredibly important. Samsung 980, they were failing, and a firmware update fixed that problem. So you could avoid a drive failure simply by having the firmware updated, but how would you know that there was a new firmware unless you had a piece of software pop up and tell you and then offer to install it for you? All I know of is Samsung is the only one that does that, to the best of my knowledge. Now, Intel was doing that with their memory and storage tool, but Intel sold off their solid state division to Solidign, S-O-L-I-D-I-G-N. They're a subsidiary of SK Hynix, South Korea Hynix. And so now the Intel memory and storage tool has an update, and then when you run the update and it sees your Intel 660, 665, or 670p NVMe drive, it says this product is no longer supported because it's no longer an Intel product, which means you no longer need the Intel memory and storage tool. So after you get the update, your next step will be to go to your apps in the control panel and uninstall it and get rid of it. Stan Aristov with £4.99 says, I use Samsung most of the time. I pay a little now to save a lot later. And again, no excuse to not make backups. You can use the most reliable drive on the planet. There's a lot more reasons than people lose their data, from ransomware to thefts, fires, floods, accidental deletions. So backups are always required regardless of drive reliability. Mats Olaf said, Toto was one of my favorites in the old days. Drive safely. I think he's already there, Mats Olaf. Stan Aristov says SK Hynix makes RAM chips too. Oh, I think they make more than RAM and SSDs. They're a pretty big manufacturer in South Korea. I haven't had any of their product. I take it back. I have an SK Hynix P41, I think, sitting on the shelf. New in a box. I haven't had a chance to test it. All right. Getting back to this computer over here. Let me go back. So these were our numbers on the drive. What do you think? Should we open this up and take a look at the inside? You ready?
Ready.
Okay, well, camera girl gets camera 2 back up and running. Let's shut this down. And we'll open it up and take a look. Shut her down. There we go. So that's off. Now we can go to the close-up. Come on over with the close-up camera. And obviously we want to unplug here, here, and here. Boy, it'd be nice if I could just tuck these up here so I don't have to reach on the floor and get them again. Let's see if I can get them to stay under there. Ah, so close. All right, and then I'll pop out the USB dongle for a keyboard and mouse. Here's the bottom of the unit. Let's see what's inside. It should match the exploded view on the website. This is a Phillips number 0 size screwdriver, in case you're wondering. I think. Could be a JIS number 1. I can't remember anymore. Now, if you're wondering, these 2 holes right here are where that optional mounting plate would go if we're going to use it. And that's what the extra screws are for in the box that came with the computer. Now, there is a pull tab right here. You see that? Little silicone pull tab. And all we have to do is grab it. And it's stretchy. There it goes. Now, this I find somewhat amusing. They have a fan here, and obviously if we put a 2.5-inch drive here, the drive would cover this fan up. But I suspect that, you see how high up the SATA connector is? I suspect if we put a drive in here, there's an air gap underneath so that it doesn't block the fan, just so you know. Some people are like, it tells you not to block the fan. Aren't you blocking the fan? Well, no, I believe that's lifted up. Let me grab a drive real quick. I want to test my theory because it wouldn't make sense to put a fan there and then tell you not to block it and then give you the option to block it. So here's I'm just going to grab a mechanical drive because, you know, a solid state drive would be obviously very thin. So here's just a standard 2.5-inch. Uh-oh, we'll get someone at the door. Hold on just a second. Well, you couldn't ask for better timing than that, right? All right, so anyway, we turn this around and then we put this right in here. Yeah. You can see how much that's dropping. So for this to be level, there is definitely, well, I don't even have it in all the way. There, now it's in all the way. For that to be level, it's going to be leaving a gap. And that's going to allow the air to get up underneath of it. Now to get this out of here, let's see, it looks like we've got a screw here. And I don't know if these are different screws or not. And it looks like a screw here. Oh yeah, these are much longer. So I'll take that one out, put it there. Those two appear to be the same length. And then this should just pop out, I think. Joe says there's not much of a gap. Well, how fat is your air, Joe? How much of a gap do you think you need? That's plenty. Do I have to take out a third screw? Let's see. Something's still holding us in, it appears. I didn't do myself any favors by adding a mechanical drive in here because I don't have anywhere to grab it now. Yeah, I feel like there's a screw right in this corner that has to come out. It looks like there's a silver screw right here, which I thought was holding the main board in. It's unusual that it's letting me move it that much. If that was actually screwed in, why is it letting me? That is very weird. Yeah, it's definitely in there. So there's a screw right down in there. And it's a different color. This one is, wow, super long. Now, will this come out? It does. Okay. So if this were level, it would be sitting right about, yeah, actually right about where it is. Yeah. So there's just the tiniest little gap, but that's all it's going to need to draw the air in. I want to take this back out though, because it is making it difficult for me to maneuver. So take that out. Now be very careful because we have two connectors. We have the SATA and power connector going down to the board, which appears to be going right here. And then we have the power connector for the fan. You'll also notice there is, what did Dawood call it, bubble gum? On top of our SSD to transfer the heat onto this plastic. Very strange that it's attaching to plastic right here. There's our Crucial branded memory right there. We can put up to 32 gigs each one for a total of 64. There's only one M.2 slot. There's our CMOS battery right there. Where's our Wi-Fi in here? A lot of times the Wi-Fi is located under the M.2 drive. I'm just curious if that's removable or if that's soldered on. It's removable. So you can upgrade the Wi-Fi on this. Nice touch. On that $3,000 Samsung Galaxy Book 3, the Wi-Fi unit is soldered on. So if you want to upgrade this to Wi-Fi 7 in the future, it's a standard M2 Wi-Fi 2230 socket. Just be careful with your antenna wires. They're very easily broken. There's no reason you would ever need to take this out beyond this. Everything that's serviceable is on this side. The other side, your CPU is going to be soldered to the board and have a CPU fan. And you really don't even need to open it to dust it. If you just run your duster through the vent holes on both sides and on the left, the right, and the back, hit them all twice, go around once, go around again. You're dusted, you're good to go. All right, now before I assemble this back to the way it was, here's the look from behind. Let's see, Kevin Crowley with $4.99 via Super Chat. Thank you, Kevin. Bob R wants me to change the M.2 drive to the 1 terabyte Samsung. Hey, you know, that 1 terabyte Samsung we took out of the laptop would be a nice upgrade for this machine, wouldn't it? However, I'd need to clone it with Acronis first. Nick Poverman said he'd put a 2 terabyte NVMe in here. Sure, as would I, but I have that 1 terabyte Samsung Gen 4 we pulled out yesterday that's just sitting on the shelf. This would be a good donor recipient for that. Bob R says, nice close-up. Oh, it looks like we're not focused. Oh, you know what? We are focused. It's me. If your screen ever looks like it's not focused, check your video resolution. For some reason on my tablet, it dropped to 144p. I definitely want that in 1080. There's a little gear icon on the top right of your video. And let's see, it says higher quality. Auto gives you the best experience, higher quality, advanced, set a specific resolution. 1080 is what I want. Ah, now it's crystal clear. Hey, those close-ups are good. I agree.
You're welcome.
Mats Olof Rickardson joining us from Sweden contributes 100 Swedish kroner. Thank you, Mats Olof, as always. Andy Kane said he uses 720 and it's fine. Stan Aristov says he uses 1080. Yeah, you probably aren't going to see a big difference between 720 and 1080, depending on what you're watching on. Richard Collins saying hello. Welcome in, Richard. Martin Wolford says he's still 1080 on his side. Yeah, and I don't think it was on YouTube's side. It was on my internet connection, probably on my Wi-Fi connection. Martin Hogg contributed £4.99. Thank you, Martin. Martin watching us in Scotland. And again, another £4.99 from our friend Martin Hogg. Thank you, Martin. And Planet Cryos contributed, so he had 3 contributions in a row. He contributed $1.49, then he contributed $10, and then he contributed $3. Looks like I missed that $3 one. Thank you, as always, Planet Cryos. David Tracy just became a supporter. Thank you, David. Welcome to the Tech Club. All right, can I put the cover back on it, or no? I'm looking in the chat. Arnold Albert says he's watching from St. Lucia. Or is it St. Lucia? Is that in the Caribbean?
Italian.
It's Italian? Mm-hmm. Well, I need to go back to geography school. If I could only find it. All right, let's just throw this back on. It's gonna sit in there like this. Was that how it came out? Yes, that is how it came out. Those ribbon cables, a little bit of a struggle. Now, you could also just take this entire piece out. If you weren't ever going to use a 2.5-inch drive, this fan is not critical to the operation of the unit. I mean, it's certainly helpful to have it, don't get me wrong, but it's absolutely not required. And again, it depends on how you use the machine too. If you're a real heavy I/O user, you definitely want that airflow over the SSD. Certainly something, if you took it out and you experienced a problem, you could put it right back in again. So if this isn't lined up right, then the screw doesn't go in correctly. I don't recall having to turn it that much to get it out. I think I'm putting this in the wrong place. I think that's why. The problem when I keep rotating the unit when I work on it is I'm going back to the corner that's furthest away from me, but I think it's the corner closest to me now. because I don't recall having to put that in that far. Yeah, that's better. I'm going to leave that there for right now. I want to tighten down these other ones first. I'll start with the one that's easiest to get to, and that'll hold it in position for us. That'll make it a lot easier to work on. Don't over tighten these screws. You just basically want to turn them until they bottom out, and don't take it any further than that. Interesting, they chose the same thread size, that the longer screw does go into the wrong hole. But you'll know because when you get it in the proper hole, it falls in about 3/4 of the way, and then you're just going to turn it about the same distance I just turned the other two. There we go. And then the cover can go back on. Now, cover only goes on one way. So once again, if you weren't paying attention when you took it off, does it go on like this, or does it go on like that? Well, if you look, the screw holes don't line up. It looks like they do, but they're half covered. And the pull tab was in the back where all the connectors are. So, and you can't put it on this way for obvious reasons. So that's how we know. And you can save yourself a lot of effort if you take pictures with your phone before you disassemble it, in case something comes loose or you're like, wait a minute, which way did this go on? You didn't even think, like I didn't even think of that. And it's occurring to me only when I'm putting it back together. Or get yourself a camera girl. Here, I'll use my iFixit spudger. Normally I'd use a plastic one, but I'm feeling brave, and I know this isn't on that tight. Or I suppose if you have really long fingernails. Hello, computer. I need something else to pry it up. I'm afraid of gouging it. Last one I took off just popped right off. If you got an old credit card or one of those valued customer cards, those are very useful. Why is this not coming off? What am I missing? There it goes. Just like that. That's our CPU fan underneath there. So yeah, if we want to, change this out to the all black one, we could certainly do that. Just line up the cutoff corner and then just push it down. There. Now it's all black. Now our heather, I don't know what you'd call that.
Gray.
Salt and pepper. That one can go back in here.
Better.
Yeah, now it's all black, and now you can see the dust better as it builds up over time. I want to test this splash resistance. I'm very curious. I got to know. Let me grab a couple paper towels. And grab a bottle of water. So the idea isn't that it's waterproof. The idea is that if you had a drink next to this, can you pull the camera back? Yeah, if you had a drink next to this and you, whoopsie, that it would spill, but it wouldn't go through this material, even though you can see through it. And I'm going to test that theory with the spare one here. Whoops. Whoa, did you see that?
Wow.
Wow, that's wicked. Completely dry. Now look at the counter. I mean, that's a lot of water. But it's cold and refreshing. I'm going to say that worked. Come on now. How impressive is that? It just beat it up. Why don't they make my windshield out of that? All right. Feel like I'm the sales guy at the carnival. The Ginsu knife guy. He's chopping up vegetables, and he's got the headset on, and he's trying to draw a crowd over to his table. How many you want to buy? Lou Grania says, hey, it's Scotch guarded. It is kind of Scotch guarded, isn't it? If we want to use a brand name, we don't know for a fact that's what they're using, but that's a great example. All right, I'll go back to camera one and give you a break. How are we doing on the battery life there? You're good. How's the battery?
About 75%.
Oh, wow, we barely used it. Joe says, don't try this at home. Joe says it's coated in Rain-X. I think that just prevents fogging. Doesn't that just prevent fogging? Jeffrey Oldham says, nice test, right? So every one of these Beelink units that comes with the cover, they're all, as far as I know, waterproof, splash proof. We'll call it splash proof. Let me throw this paper towel out. Okay. Oh, that water's nice and cold. Any questions? I'm happy to address any questions you have regarding the Beelink unit. This is completely dry. It's a little cold, but it's dry. How does that work? I don't know. Can you show us the BIOS update? I don't think there is a BIOS update for this. What you do if you need drivers is, let me turn on my screen capture. Okay, so let's say you wanted drivers, like you were going to reinstall Windows or something. You're going to go to Google, and you're going to type in Beelink drivers. Now, the very first link Google's going to offer you, it says drivers and hardware. And you're going to look for the model of Beelink that you have. So we have an SER6 Pro. And this is the Mini S12, Mini S12, SER5800. This is a tutorial on flashing the BIOS, but it doesn't say for which model. Improve the fan noise for SER6 and SER6 Pro. That was released in January. So we could download that. Assuming we don't already have this BIOS, we'd have to check. So if we were to do like a reinstall of Windows, then we'd want all of the drivers for the SER6, which right here, driver for SER6 and 6 Pro. And we'd want to grab that, however big this is. Not too bad. I mean, I wish that this was a little better organized. There's a flash firmware tool. I wonder if we need that. There's Wi-Fi and Bluetooth drivers. There's a reinstall system tutorial available for Windows 10 and Windows 11. And then you've got, yeah, here it walks you through the entire process. If you're going to do a reinstall, what you're going to need to do for drivers. It's very nice that they have that. Then we still have page 2, and we have page 3. So the Beelink support is there. It is sort of a serve yourself kind of a situation. And whatever this is taking a while. This is pretty big, huh? 700, how many megs is this? I can't see it, it's too far away. Yeah, the driver pack is 722 megs. So that's probably a video driver in there that's going to be massive. The AMD Radeon driver is going to be a big part of that 722. And let me take a look at what's in this file here. We'll extract that. And it looks like we have a flash file here. 1.11 seems to be the version. And then I want to check the version we have. So let me go back to camera 1. And let's see what version we have. So I have to plug all this back in. So let me step back around and we'll fire this back up. And we'll see if there is a firmware update. We'll definitely do it on camera. But I suspect they sent it to me with it on there already, but I have not checked. I'm just making an assumption. And you know what they say about that. So we will double check it. Okay. And we'll go back over to HDMI input, and I'll put me in the corner as always. Yeah, right about there should be good. We'll turn this on. Again, we can test and see how long it boots. Sometimes it's right up quickly, and sometimes, yeah, when it sat there spinning at the user thing, it was dealing with an update. That seems pretty clear to me now. All right, and let's run CPU-Z. And sorry, I had to make that full screen for me, you know. We can tell what version of BIOS we have right through this program by clicking on the motherboard tab here. And it says we're running version 113 that was released on February 21st. Well, that's newer than what was on the website. Let's go back to the website here. Let's go Beelink. Oh, wrong. I'm on the wrong keyword. Beelink drivers. Now this will be Bing, but it does still look like it's the first option. And what do? I move my window. Let me put myself back over here. Okay. And we can search for the SER6. That might make life a little easier. There's the GPU driver. There's the tutorial of flashing. There's the flash for fan noise, but I don't hear the fan. And it does show 114 of 2023, and the BIOS I have is newer than that. So I wonder why they don't have the newer version here. And there's nothing for me to click on to learn any more. Like I don't get a version number or anything. You have to download the file. And this is the driver pack. So I suppose, you know, I don't know if the GPU driver is included in the driver pack or if this is just a newer one, because the date is the 15th of February and this is the 7th of December. And interesting, and I like how they put month, day, year. So a lot of websites in Europe and Asia do day, month, year, and it can be confusing if that's 7/12, like July 12th or December 7th. But here, since there's no 14th month, I know that that's month, day, year now, confidently. So it appears, based on CPU-Z, that I have version 113 on 2/21 of 2023, and that this flash is 111. See that? 1.11, and I have 113. So I have one that's newer. Well, isn't that interesting? Well, this is cool. They have a boot, an EFI boot, so that you can just copy these files to a blank USB flash drive and it should be bootable. But I would just do it through the BIOS. But I wouldn't want to flash backwards. I only want to flash forwards. So interesting. I'd have to write to Beelink and ask them why the website doesn't have the latest version. If there's a reason for that, or if that's an oversight, or they just haven't gotten around to it yet. So valid question. Thanks for asking. Okay, other questions? The Intel driver toolkit also give BIOS version That's true, but we wouldn't run the Intel driver toolkit on an AMD system. But if you run an Intel NUC, you'll even get the update for the BIOS through the Intel driver assistant. So that's an absolute necessity on an Intel NUC, even if Intel doesn't make that. So if it's an Intel-based mini PC, you definitely want that free Intel driver updater or update assistant. What is the flash utility from Beelink? That's a very unusual question. I don't pay attention to who makes a flash utility. I don't use the flash utilities. I would update from within the BIOS itself. But if there's no way for me to update within the BIOS, then I would just create the flash utility and run it. It doesn't, like, who cares? Let me ask you a question. Why do you care who makes it? What difference? Does that decide whether or not you buy the PC, depending on who makes the flash utility? In most cases, the flash utility is made by whoever made the BIOS. So AMI would be an AMI flash utility. Award would be, does Award even still make BIOSes? Et cetera, et cetera. It's whoever makes the BIOS utility. What happens if an AMD system has an Intel network interface card? Well, I understand your point, but I wouldn't install the Intel driver assistant because I had just one Intel device in my system. That seems like overkill. I would personally just type in the name of the Intel NIC, the network interface card, into Google, because having the latest driver on your NIC isn't that important. You could have a driver 2 or 3 years old that's running just fine. Just because a newer driver is out doesn't mean that it's going to benefit you to have that. Now, in most cases, drivers come out due to compatibility with, say, newer operating systems. So, for example, if you're running Windows 10 and you notice your drivers from 2 years ago, that may be the default that's coming from Windows Update. And if you're not having any problems with it, why would you do that to yourself? But it may be that it's not compatible with Windows 11 or to an update to Windows 11, in which case Windows Update should provide that update. I would not, nor do I recommend, putting the Intel driver assistant on an AMD system, because I think the only thing you could possibly have on that AMD system would be, that would be Intel, would be the network interface card or Thunderbolt. And that's pretty rare to get Thunderbolt on an AMD. And those drivers are going to come through Windows Update. They're very common. So I don't know why you would think you'd have to outsmart Windows Update. But that's on you if you want to do that. I wouldn't do that. I would not put myself through that masochism, because I wouldn't want my clients calling me going, hey, there's a little red dot, what do I do? Yeah, wouldn't do that for myself, and I wouldn't do it for my customers. But on a mini PC that's Intel based, or on an Intel NUC, 100% I'm putting that utility on. AMD, I'm going to put on the AMD Adrenalin software. Mark Gaines says, I sent you a little extra super chat. Oh, did I miss it, Mark? Ian Gooch with 10 pounds says, hey, Carrie, here's a little help for your funds. Hey, right on, Ian. There he is. Mark Gaines with 20 pounds says, here's a little extra, Carrie. Thank you, Mark. See what else I missed. Nick Poverman says he received something. I didn't see the previous. He says, I never had anything arrive this quick. And he's like, yeah, they sent it before you ordered it. There's a book called Quality Land. It's forget the German author's name, but it's translated into English, and it's very satirical about a company like Amazon that orders things before you know you want it. And they never make mistakes, and they have algorithms to prove it. So when they make a mistake, you're wrong. So it's a very satirical book called Quality Land. You could buy it on Amazon, and it's an Audible form as well. Glenn's Music said the Flash is made by a guy called Gordon. William Lynn wants to know, should we not install the Intel generic GPU drivers, if much never than the OEM Intel graphics drivers? Well, I think that's for you to experiment with. If you have the time on your hands to go pursuing unnecessary drivers to fix issues you don't have fun. Not everybody has the luxury of the time or to deal with the consequences if it doesn't work out to undo what you just did. If you're having a problem and you would like some help solving that problem, well, we'd appreciate if you come in here and ask your question. But if you're not having a problem and what you're trying to do is to do unnecessary work to avoid a problem, then you're probably creating a problem, which is typically somebody who's got more time on their hands. I'm way too busy for that. I will do certain preventive maintenance tasks, but there's a point where the preventive maintenance is no longer preventive maintenance, and it's now becoming problem creation. So there is a line that I don't cross. There are certain utilities I will not use, and there are certain drivers I only update if they require it. Now, in the instance of like Windows updates, anything Windows updates offers, I'm taking. Not necessarily on the optionals, but definitely all the default Windows updates universally. I want them all, and I want them as soon as possible. If there's a new BIOS update, I will not rush out and update it once the system's been sold. If the customer has no complaints, I am not going to update their BIOS only to have them call me with a problem that I now have to fix under warranty. I don't have time for that. But when I sell the system, it will be updated to the day it was built. And there's no reason to continue to update it beyond that when I'm the one who's going to get the call. When you do it to yourself and you're the one who's got to fix your own problems, then that's not a question I can answer for you. I can't tell you whether or not something is worth your while. You have to make that determination. What I'm here to do is to help you solve problems. And within a reasonable effort, help you to prevent some problems. But it seems like some people just don't know where to stop. And because they don't know where to stop, they're taking it, in my opinion, too far, which is having the opposite effect of preventive maintenance. And in fact, you're causing problems, or you're likely to cause problems. But because it's only affecting you, it doesn't matter to me. But to general advice to everybody out there, and as a professional working computer technician that's held accountable, liable, and responsible for the machines that I'm paid to maintain, I do not do unnecessary work. It must be justifiable. There must be a return on the investment, or I'm not doing it. I just don't have time. Nick Powerman said, I ordered this Beelink when your stream started and it arrived already. I have an Amazon distribution center 10 miles away, and I was shocked that it came that fast. Well, fire it up, Nick. That's awesome. Mark Gaines wants to know, how do you disable ads on Windows 11? You know, I'm not an expert on Windows 11. I use it occasionally because I have to. I know that Microsoft keeps adding more and more ads to Windows 11, and it's likely going to continue. Where are you seeing the ads? I guess that's my first question is, so Microsoft can place ads in Solitaire, they can place ads on your start menu, they can place ads on your taskbar. Which ads are you trying to remove? Let's start with that. Vincent says use Malwarebytes ad remover. Andrew wants to know my thoughts on ASRock boards. There are effectively four main motherboard manufacturers, four big ones, ASRock, MSI, Gigabyte, and ASUS. Now, for me personally, I find the ASRock boards a little lacking. Like, I had an ASRock board over at Studio A that was in my office PC, and it took a long time to get through the post, especially if you turned XMP on. The amount of time it took for the computer to start up was far longer than what I'm used to with Gigabyte and ASUS. MSI I find to be too expensive. I don't know why they're so expensive. I don't think they're worth it. But as far as reliability, they're all about the same these days. With regards to what kind of support you're going to get, yeah, it's hard to say. Gigabyte doesn't have the best support, but I really very rarely have to use it. And because I have to be held liable, accountable, and responsible for the systems that I sell to my customers, I will not use a board manufacturer that eats away any profit or removes my competitive advantage in pricing, nor will I use a board manufacturer that has an issue that they deny having. Now, ASRock did that to me in the past, and I've been very cautious in how I use ASRock. When I used ASRock in my system on a Z170 board, I couldn't wait to get it out of there. It drove me crazy how slow it was at booting. And They were introducing, I think they had the BIOS update that would do it on its own in the BIOS. It worked like 1 out of every 3 times. So for me personally, I don't sell ASRock because I don't want to have that reflect my reputation. What you buy at home, it's on you. But as far as, are they reputable? Are they selling a scam product? No, their product is just as legit as Gigabyte, Asus, and MSI. My anecdotal experience, and remember, I work on hundreds of systems, probably 1,000 a year, but over 100 a year. And I see a little bit of everything. But what I don't want to see is my own system come back to me. So when I'm choosing a part, it has to be available, it has to be the right price, and it has to be a good part that I'm proud to put my name behind, because my customers, they don't know ASRock from Gigabyte or Asus or MSI. They don't know. They just know they bought a system from Kerry. Is the system crap? Then Kerry's systems that he sells are crap. That's how that works. And they only need one to be crap. And that's how a customer's mind works. So I don't mess around with that, because whether or not I survive in business is a daily challenge. So if you look on this channel, you will see an ASRock board and an MSI board on occasion, but not very often. And those are never sold to customers unless with a disclaimer. So I had a pretty nice MSI board I sold to a gentleman in Oregon with a disclaimer. I said, look, I just don't know the longevity of this board. It seems to work just fine. It was expensive. It was more expensive than similar boards from other manufacturers. So it's very highly regarded in the community. I'll take a financial loss on it to sell it to you, and if you have any problems, you let me know. I'll still help you. But I want you to understand what you're buying. And he bought it, and he's had it 2-3 years. He's never had a problem with it. But that's one. But there wasn't enough. I mean, I lost money on that. I don't know why MSI thinks their products are worth more than ASRock, Asus, and Gigabyte. I don't think they are. Vincent mentions Malwarebytes browser guard. Well, that's fine in your browser, but I don't know where the ads are. He didn't say where the ads were. Ollie says, Kerry, a while ago you made a build video where you took your Mustang out in the desert and shot up a Pepsi bottle. It was a top-tier video. What happened to it? It's still there. That's the Cosmos 2 build. It's been up since, what, 2013? Yeah, you could just sort my videos by the number of views. It's in like the top 10, I think. That's how the Cosmos 2 build starts. It wasn't just a video of me blowing up a Pepsi bottle. It's part of a 2-hour video. And that was just a little cutaway. Stan Ristov says, never use that Chinese toy board. Oh, the yearling. Yeah, that's an exercise in what to do if you have nothing but time on your hands and you like fixing stuff. So for the right customer, I was watching Jay Leno's Garage, and he had Jeff Dunham brought in a Bricklin. You guys ever seen a Bricklin automobile from like 1974? They kind of look like a Datsun 260Z. They were only in business like 2 years. Anyway, Jeff Dunham, the comedian with the puppets, he's got a car collection, and he goes on Jay's show to show off his cars, and he brought in his Bricklin. And he mentioned how everything would break on the Bricklin, but that was part of the appeal of the car. And Jeff Dunham mentioned, he's like, I like fixing the Bricklin. It brings me joy. And he's like, well, then you're a great customer for their product. You're the ideal customer. So yeah, if you like fixing stuff, yeah, that yearling will make you super happy. Just constantly have to keep it on life support. Just when you think it's living on its own, it'll just crash. Bob R said, I'm looking for a 4 terabyte M.2 NVMe. Any suggestions? Yeah, Bob, look at yesterday's video. There's a reason why I selected the brand and model of drive that I installed in my brand new $3,000 laptop. You think I just grabbed something cheap? I grabbed what I thought were the best for the money. And that's yesterday's video. Now, if you just want 4 terabytes, you don't care how fast it is, that Crucial drive that on sale for $200. But honestly, for $100 more, you get the Western Digital 850N. Where is it? 850X. I can never remember Western Digital's nomenclature. The Seagate Fire CUDA 530 if money's no object, but honestly, I think the Western Digital performs better and it's cheaper. Nick Poverman said he's heading out for dinner. Well, I guess you're not opening up the new computer, huh? Well, it'll wait for you when you get back. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it once you've had a chance to evaluate it. Midnight Club said, my PC won't post anymore. It's an Asus ROG Maximus 13 Hero with a 10900K. Still on code 55 since it's a RAM issue. But before my PC stopped posting, it passed memtest 86 with no errors. It doesn't matter, before I crashed my car, it was running great. It doesn't matter what it did before it broke. If I were you, I'd take out all the RAM modules but one, see if it'll post. If it does post, you got a bad RAM module. If it doesn't post, then take that one RAM module out, replace it with one of the RAM modules you removed previously, so you still only have one RAM module. Turn the machine back on, see if it posts. It sounds like you've got a bad RAM module or it's not seated properly. But what you did before it crashed is irrelevant. None of that information about before it crashed has anything to do with after it crashed. I was alive and well before I had my heart attack. I was just on an EKG just the other day. That's what it sounds like you're saying. It doesn't, as a professional technician, it makes no sense to me. Before it crashed, it passed. Well, that's probably why it didn't crash before. The question is, why is it crashing now? So now you need to test it, not before. All right. Glenn's Music mentions the author of Quality Land, Mark U. Kling. Yeah, I don't know how he pronounces his name, but just look up Quality Land on Amazon. It's a popular book. All right, I'm looking at my screen here. See what I'm missing in the chat. Mark Gaines says, when I sign in on the taskbar, it's driving me nuts. All right, Mark, so where is it on the taskbar? Is it in your search box? Is it in the middle? Is it over on the right? What's it in advertisement for? Matt Soloff says, I have a problem with Google on Windows Edge. I have and then it just stops. Joe Panico says, I built a system with an ASRock Steel Legend M-ATX, a micro ATX with a Western Digital black NVMe. He's doing 7,700 megabytes per second, and it boots very fast with XMP enabled. So far, so good. Hey, maybe it was the model I got. Maybe that Z170 board just, I don't know, had a weird BIOS. Or maybe it's something ASRock has addressed. So good to know. Like I said, I don't have a lot of experience with ASRock because of the experiences I've had. Statistically, too many have had problems. If I have 100 boards and I have a problem with 20 of them, that's too high of an issue rate. I'm working on a bigger scale. So I would not suggest that every ASRock board has a problem, nor would I suggest that every Gigabyte board doesn't. Just so we're clear. I'm going off thousands of motherboards, and I have preferences based on the experience overall. Kind of an average, if you will. William Lean says, to remove ads in Windows 11, go to Privacy and Security in your settings, and then in general, turn off all of the options. Okay. Patrick wants to know if I'm liking the tablet for checking on the chat. Oh yeah, this thing's awesome. So much better. I don't know why I didn't think of this years ago. This is working great. Midnight Club said he has a PC that has a 6700K on an Asus Z170 board, and it takes a while to post, even on SSD. Yeah, well, I didn't have the problem on Gigabyte. That's all I'm saying. I couldn't tell you with Asus versus ASRock. Hey, Michael Dane joins us in the chat. Winston Liu contributes $1.10 Canadian. Thank you, Winston. Yates Network said Asus has been pretty good for him lately. He's switching away from MSI. He says, but Asus still does some pretty dumb things. Yeah, well, we all have our preferences. I think they're all legitimate companies doing the best they can. Stanislav Taholid says, is the mini PC silent under no load? It's been on this whole time. Can you hear it? I can barely hear the CPU fan, or maybe it's that top fan there spinning. It's making no noise at all. In fact, I'm hearing the streaming computer's liquid cooler fans more so than I'm hearing this. So yes, it is silent. Yep. Now, put a load on it, I'm sure it's going to crank up as the heat goes up, but just sitting here idle, I wouldn't even know it was on, except the power lights lit up. Ian McLeod pops in the chat, says, hello all, happy Friday and happy weekend. Right on. Jeffrey Oldham says, I really appreciate your short video on removing those annoying icons from the search bar in Windows 10. The instructions are also there in Windows 11 in the video description below the video. Orbit wants to know if DDR5 RAM overheats in this mini PC. Nothing overheats in this mini PC. Even under load, it won't overheat. No. Again, stuff like that, just order one from Amazon. If you're skeptical, run whatever test you want. If it doesn't pass your test, send it back to Amazon for a full refund. And then let us know. Let us come back and tell us. And likewise, if it does pass your test, what was your test? Tell us. Are you impressed or not impressed? That's a decision only you're going to be able to make. No content creator can evaluate a complete stranger on the internet's prediction of satisfaction on some product. So it's just very, very subjective. But as far as overheating, this thing isn't going to overheat. Beelink has a Beelink's cooling solution is quite unique. I will say that all of the mini PC manufacturers, Minis Forum comes to mind, where Minis Forum is using a liquid metal heat transfer compound on the CPU, thermal compound. Beelink, what they do is they work on their airflow. That's their main concern. And if you look at the Beelink website, they show you all of the tests they've run and all of the temperatures. But now if you're somewhere in a very hot climate and you don't have air conditioning and this thing's running in a 90-degree room, then what you experience may be different because of your environment. So it depends on what you're running on the machine, how long you're running it, and what operating environment you're in, along with what your personal tolerance as a human being is. What you find acceptable may be completely different than what I find acceptable. So at the end of the day, you're just going to have to get one and try it. But I can tell you, I've not been able to overheat one of these yet. So for whatever that's worth. Martin Hogg is saying goodnight. Hey, Martin, thanks for hanging out with us today. Ian McLeod wants to know if the mini PC can be mounted on the back of a monitor. Yeah, we discussed that right in the beginning of the video. So hopefully you'll be able to go back and replay from the beginning and see all that you've missed. The short answer is yes. William Lynn wants to know, can we see the BIOS update from the Samsung laptop? No, I've already done it. But the next time there's a BIOS update, if I think about it, I'll video capture it. It's really, you have some very bizarre requests, William. Does it matter? It's just, so I'm updating. You really should be a computer technician so you can get whatever this is out of your system. After you've seen about 1,000 motherboards update, they're all the same. Even though they look different, they're all the same. So it's not important for me to show that because there's nothing educational about it. It's like, can I watch the sunset in Phoenix versus watching it in San Diego? After you see a certain amount of sunsets, with few exceptions, they're with mountains or without mountains, with trees or without trees. Sometimes you get a different hue of pink. But yeah, that's not very educational content for me to make. If it happens to come up, I'll show it. But again, it's, you know, an Intel NUC updates the way it updates, Gigabyte updates the way they update, ASRock. Laptops in general update differently. And of course, that's par for the course. And it always has been for many, many years. It doesn't really matter. As long as you get the update and it applies, yeah. But seriously, you should be a technician so that you see so many BIOS updates, it doesn't matter. Like, I've reached that point a long time ago. I don't even care. Like, whatever. Stan Aristov with £1.99 said, pleasure to see you. Love to be in the chat again. Hey, it's great to have you, Stan. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Phil Hoffman said his mother had passed away recently. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's a tough one. You know, I never have good words to say on stuff like this. I never know what to say. But you're among friends, and maybe we can distract you for a little while. It's about the best I think we can do under the circumstances. Kevin Doan pops into the chat room, says hello. Bob R said, is it buzzing? No, it's not buzzing. If I walk over to the streaming computer, it's got a, how do I take my microphone off? I have this big liquid cooler on the streamer, and it can be noisy. If I run any video editing on it, then that 3070 in there gets really noisy. The sound of fans. But if I took that liquid cooler out, that sound you're hearing in the background would be removed. Now, when I get the audio issues resolved here in Studio B, which by the way, I've got equipment sitting here. I had a package that I was waiting on so I could start working on this. And it said it was delivered last night and it never showed up. And I walked around the neighborhood like a madman with a flashlight because it was dark, looking at my neighbors and neighboring streets that have similar addresses to see if it was dropped off in the wrong place. And it was delivered by USPS from a seller on eBay. And the USPS listing says its scheduled delivery date is Saturday, April 20th, 2024. Well, that struck me because I know Saturday is not April 20th. I didn't notice the 2024, but it said your package has been delivered ahead of schedule. It has not been delivered. It's not here. So when the phone, when the door rang, I had to go get it because I thought maybe that's my neighbor bringing me my package. It's a $200 receiver. It's not going to do anybody any good. It's not worth it for them to steal it. And as far as I know, United States Postal Service hasn't been here. And I have cameras, and the cameras never went off. So I don't know if they're playing a game saying the package has been delivered when it hasn't, so that they're meeting their delivery quotas, what they're intending to drop it off today. I don't think he's been here today yet. This mailman here doesn't show up till 6, 7 o'clock at night. Sometimes he's here 11 o'clock in the morning. It's very weird. Amazon and FedEx will take a picture of where they left the package. Now, if the United States Post Office would do that, I could maybe recognize the door that it was left at amongst my neighbors. or they didn't actually deliver it and they're just meeting a quota by saying they did, and in fact, it'll show up later today. Now, I don't care. I don't need it right this minute, but it bothers me that it says it's delivered. So now for me to file a claim on eBay, I have to report to the seller that it wasn't delivered. The seller's going to say, hey, you're trying to pull a scam. Tracking says it was delivered. Like, hey, buddy, you got to look at my feedback on eBay. I've been on eBay since 1998. I have zero ever negative feedback. It's 100% positive. So why would I lie? So we're going to have that conversation. I cannot open a claim because I'm the recipient. Only the sender can open a claim because it's USPS. And I don't want to start that conversation until the end of business today, to just give my neighbors a chance to bring it over if it was in fact misdelivered, or give the mailman an opportunity to drop it off. Because if it was just a mistake that'll be corrected within 24 hours, I'm not going to freak out. But if I don't have it by tomorrow, yeah, I got to write a letter to the seller and say this never showed up. And then we're going to have that conversation. Unfortunately, the receiver I ordered is no longer made. It's for a Sennheiser G3 wireless mic pack. And they haven't made them in years. So I have no choice but to order it used. And I haven't had a problem with eBay before, but I have had a problem specifically with United States Postal Service misdelivering mail. Like the amount of misdelivered mail, I get other people's mail, other people get my mail at least once a month here in Studio B. They're just terrible. United States Post Office is probably the worst delivery system. Never had a problem with FedEx. I don't think I've ever had a problem with UPS. I certainly have never had a problem with DHL. And Amazon nails it every time, because Amazon, I get a picture. So at least if they misdeliver it, I can recognize the door and just go over to my neighbors and get it. Without that picture, how do I even know the guy? You know, I have cameras. I can prove there was no activity on any of the cameras. So he never showed up, or she. Something winds me, something like that is suspicious, and it really winds me up. Because I'm being lied to, or somebody made a mistake, and I want to know which one it was, and I want to know now. And they don't make it possible for me as the recipient. The United States Post Office does not make it possible for me to alert them, hey, you literally sent me an email saying this package was dropped off. Where's your driver right now? Because if you ask that driver in 3 days where he dropped it off, how's he going to remember? You need to know right this minute. There should be a way for me to click a button and say, alert, wherever that package was just dropped off, it's not at the right address, or that mail person is lying and didn't drop it off, and they're gonna, throw it in the trash. So we need some verification system in USPS to be put in place. This is driving me crazy because until I have that piece, I can't address my new audio setup. And the new audio setup will probably filter that sound right out. So that's how we got onto that long rant. All right, we're just about 2 hours here, so I think we'll wrap it up. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for your for interacting with me. Stan Aristov said, same here in the UK where I live. I get the neighbor's mail, they get mine. Yeah, that's like a routine. I'm like trading mail with my neighbors at least once a month. And one time I caught the mailman. Like literally, he put the mail in a box and I stopped him. I said, hold on, this isn't my address. You got the numbers all backwards. And he goes, oh, it must have got stuck. Really? So the dyslexia isn't the case. It's the mail got stuck. And I didn't argue with him. I just said, just the ability to catch him red-handed and say, you fix this. You take it to the neighbors. That's not my job. It was a tiny little win for me. And I thought, man, if I could do that more often, maybe I could embarrass him and shame him enough that he'll pay more attention. You have one job. It doesn't require a college education. You see the address written on the envelope? You see the address on the house? You match those, and then you drive the car. Pretty sure anybody in high school could do this job. So I don't know what the problem is. I understand mistakes happen, but the frequency is ridiculous. It's almost like they're doing it on purpose. I hold all my stuff for pickup. Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I don't know which is worse. Driving 3 miles to the post office or walking 2 houses down to my neighbor's once I realize which neighbor it is. Okay, Cordius Technology says USPS does take a picture. You have to go up to the post office. They have it on file. Interesting. Well, if I could just get a hold of the USPS, they won't talk to me because I'm the recipient. They say I have to go through the sender. But if it shows up between now and then, I won't have to go down that path. That's why I'm going to procrastinate for 24 hours. Wintermute posts a link to Mark Gaines. He says, here is a link that shows you how to disable notification ads on Windows 11, and posts a reputable link to windowscentral.com. That's a reputable link. I would definitely follow that, Mark. I forgot about Mark's follow-up. Carrie, the ads are on the right-hand corner. It's all Microsoft stuff. So on all my Windows 11 computers, I've not seen any ads pop up on the right corner. So I don't know if you've installed something I don't have, but I don't know what that that's a notification area, the right side, just so you know. You could turn notifications off. Usually the ads, anything that pops up will have a little gear icon. And if you hit the gear or the cog, it should have the ability to turn those off. And they're usually right on the advertisement. Otherwise, you can go to notifications, which is the little square box in the right corner, and then go to the settings on that. And I always turn notifications off because I don't want to see notifications about, have you made a backup and your antivirus? And even still, the antivirus notifications will still pop up from time to time, but it reduces to the point where I get notifications once every other week or something, every 2 weeks. But they don't pop up. They're just like a little number 1 or number 2 in that bottom right corner. And Steve Dodd has been a member now for 5 months. Right on, Steve. Thanks for being a member. Bob R. said you can sign up for USPS mail notifications for mail delivery. Well, how do you think I knew the package was delivered, Bob? Are we failing to communicate? I just said I got a notification the package was delivered. How do you think I got that? All right. I know you're trying to be helpful, but I'm trying to figure out, did I leave a part of my story out? I'm confused. Bob says we're all spoiled by Amazon super delivery. Ain't that the truth? But here's the thing. What magic potion does Amazon have that the post office can't do? I mean, the post office is the one with all the experience. They're the OG of mail delivery. But Amazon's only been in business since the 90s, and they're putting the post office to shame. Now, is there something the post office can't replicate? They can't reverse engineer that like they do with cars? Go buy your competitor's car and dismantle it so you can see what they're doing? Why doesn't the post office do that? They don't care. Mark Gaines says, thank you, Carrie. It got sorted thanks to Wintermute. All right, well, see, users helping users. I love the community. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for the follow-up, Mark. USPS is so gangster. All right. I think that's going to wrap it up for me for today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. It's been a little over 2 hours. I think that's a good time to wrap it up. My thanks to the folks at Beelink. Yeah, if you're looking for a little mini gaming PC, like I said, try putting together a computer at this price point, matching the specs. You can't do it. You're going to be $100 to $200 over what this costs. Order it from Amazon. Some people are saying there's a $40 off coupon. That brings that price to $511 for that much power and performance. You have 30 days hassle-free returns at Amazon. That costs you nothing to send back. for any reason. If you don't like it, just send it back. And then if you decide to get one, whether you decide to keep it or not, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know. Did you buy one? Did you like it? Did you not like it? And if so, either way, why? What is it you like about it, or what is it you don't like about it? I'd love to hear feedback from reviews that actually matter. The reviews coming from content creators don't really matter. It's the overwhelming statistical. So when you get a bunch of consumers giving you feedback, that is far better of an evaluation of being unbiased by seeing what the consensus is. Is the consensus is overall we like it, or is the consensus overall we don't like it? And if so, is there a consensus as of why? So there's only so far my imagination can go. You guys use your computers for all different stuff. You have all different requirements and all different operating atmospheres that you're using it in. So there's no way I can replicate. There's no way anybody can replicate that. The feedback coming from actual people who bought it is far more valuable than feedback from any content creator. And so you voluntarily just leaving a comment on this video if you bought one, or tell us why you didn't buy one. What is it you don't like about it? I would love that information as a technician to put myself into the minds of my customers, which is what I do for a living. That's why I feel like a better idea of what misconceptions consumers have and what expectations consumers have, because I deal with consumers every day in my business. Most content creators are hobbyists, they're enthusiasts, they only care about what they find important, and they assume everybody else thinks the same way they do. That drives me crazy, because as a person myself, I've been told I don't think like most people do. And I see that as a compliment. There's no way I would think, because something's important to me, that it would be important to anybody else on the planet. So it bothers me when people, it's like a narcissism, that if this is important to me, then it's important to everybody. And it just shows me how disconnected they are from reality. And that means anything they have to say now has just lost value to me. So to alleviate that concern, I'd love to hear back from people who have an opinion on it. And if you do, I'd like to hear it. I'd like to hear why. Doesn't have to be good, doesn't have to be bad. Maybe you're undecided. Why are you on the fence? Where are you hung up? I'd love to know that too. So this is not TV, this is YouTube. The whole point of it is to be interactive with each other. And it's up to you to decide to do that. And I hope you will, and I hope you're respectful. I hope, when you leave your comments. That's it. Thank you so much for all the contributions today. Thank you to my friend John and Jack Wilson, and to Mark Gaines and Planet Cryos. Thank you to Luke Greenia. Thank you to, I was looking in my email here. Our buddy Peter Laycock, of course. And for the super chats, they came in, which I thought I had a screen up with those. Where'd my screen go? There it is. Stan Aristov, Winston Liu, Ian Gooch, Mats Olaf Rickardson, Mark Gaines, Kevin Crowley, Martin Hogg, Alan Lindas, and welcome new members Chico48 and David Tracy. Be sure to catch me on my members only live videos. Those new members, there are videos I do every Monday at 1 o'clock Arizona time, Pacific time currently, that are for members only. They're a very small audience and attendance. It's a little more intimate, a little more one-on-one, and I hope you'll join me. If you miss it, you can always watch them, as well as the ones you've missed once you're a member. Just a lot of it's just chit chat, what's going on, and what is planned for the channel for the week, as well as what's ever on members' minds we can discuss. That may not be appropriate for a public video, but is fine on members only. And so that's one of the benefits you have as being a member. And I hope you'll join us this Monday at 1 o'clock if you're a member. Stealth Mode has now been a supporter here for 11 months. I'm so excited to see that first number change to 12. Yeah, it's coming. Lord Terry of Franklin says, have a great weekend all. And Chris Garrett said eBay's going to catch on to these scammers. I don't know. I don't think this guy's a scammer. He's got good feedback, but one way or the other, it'll sort itself out. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thank you to Beelink. Thank you to Camera Girl for the thumbnail. Great job on the thumbnail and the close-up camera work. I will see you all again very, very soon. And until next time, bye for now. I'm looking for an outro. I did not have one queued up. We'll just do this quick one. Bye-bye.